Okay, and we are live and recording on DLive, Twitch, Rockfin, and on podcast networks. This is the show. Oops, I have to get your face up. This is the show. Yes, I got it. Me and Alex Stein today. Alex Stein 99, who appears
on the grind all the time.
On the grind all the time. I have so many questions for you, so I hope you have a little time today. Last time I kept it short. You've been growing on me.
Now that I've gotten a bunch more viral videos, you're starting to get an Alex Stein crush, I think.
Yeah, that's what happened. Is you're doing stuff that's so crazy, I decided I had to start talking to you. Before, I just thought you were like annoying, to be honest. Remember?
A lot of people do.
Remember when we were on that show?
Well, and Nathan, and no offense, you're not a social butterfly yourself. I mean, you're not the most charismatic guy, but I've always liked you, Nathan. I've never thought anything negative about you.
Well, I don't say that to be rude. And thank you for pointing that out. I am socially awkward in lots of other ways, but that's okay. I think both of us might have some things going on. But yeah, back in the day, I remember when you came on the show, you were going to host the show that I was hosting.
You got to let it go, but we got to talk about how we first met. But dude, the crazy David Rubini is why probably didn't like me. Is because you probably associated me with that guy.
No, I liked you. I was just not sure if the audience was ready for you yet. That's all I was thinking. I was like, I don't know, this guy, he's really intense and really out there, I don't know if people are ready for it yet. But now
I'm not ready. Are they ever going to be ready, Nate?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, how's it going? Like, what other shows did you do this week?
Well, this week I did a bunch of shows. I was on a bunch of shows at The Blaze. That's kind of a conservative media company here in Dallas. So I did a lot of in-person shows. And then I was probably a guest on 3 different other people's podcasts. And this is the thing, Nathan, you do a show continually every day, I believe. Is it Monday through Friday or is it 7 days a week you do a show?
I've been doing it mostly Monday through Friday.
But I'm saying even a 2-hour show can kind of make you tired. You know what I mean? And I guess what I'm trying to say is there's nothing more tiring, even though you're going to ask me questions, than answering questions. I don't know why that is. People think, oh, it's so easy. You just sit there and answer questions. But it's not hard, but it's kind of grueling. It takes time when you use your brain. That takes energy to use your brain. So, it's like, how many interviews can you do a day? Like in my mind, I guess I was thinking the other day, I was like, maybe I should go on an interview blitz myself and try to do 4 interviews a day and try to get a bunch of interviews and then maybe space them out. But even that, dude, if you do more than 1 interview in a day, you're tired. Yeah, I hate to sound like such a pussy. Excuse my French.
Yeah, well, it depends on how long they are and stuff. The first, who the first person who interviewed me was ever? It's really interesting. And it was like a 3-hour interview. It was Patricia Steer.
Wait, what? She's the first person that interviewed you? And y'all went 3 hours? Yeah, I like Patricia. She's really cool. And so y'all did a 3-hour interview with Patricia, huh?
Something like that, I think. Yeah,
wow,
she was the first one. Yeah, I was going back in history. It's because I made videos about the moon landing. And then the flat earthers got interested in me, even though I wasn't even talking about the flat earth. But then I ended up on flat earth and hot potatoes.
The moon is such a big deal. I mean, the moon landing is just provably false, obviously, Nathan. So you're obviously a moon landing truther. Is that you are as well, obviously?
Yeah, I want to get into all the different conspiracy theories, but yeah, I tweeted something out about the moon landing today. I was just saying how I was wondering. Well, it's kind of a bit, but Russian TV is totally banned
on YouTube
now, everywhere, it seems like. So I was saying on Russian TV, they're saying the moon landing is fake, and then I showed a picture of the lunar rover.
Wait, are you kidding? So you're trolling? They didn't actually say that.
I'm trolling, yeah. But it could happen. I mean, now we're in the midst of possible information warfare.
No, you're right, Nathan. But that's what they always say, because I've done a few debates about the moon, and they're always like, well, why, if Russia was first in all this aeronautical space stuff, why don't they reveal that America didn't go to the moon? And then you have to kind of explain like, well, they're in cahoots, and it would affect them if they expose the lie to it, make them look like liars. So it's kind of at the point. No, oh no, Russia would tell. Russia hates us so much they would tell on us.
Right.
I mean, I don't necessarily believe that.
I wonder how far we're going to have to push them to before they start coming out with information, because that's what I was wondering. Maybe I'm sure they know about 9/11 and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I mean, right? So
Well,
it could
that
be.
Russian delegate said that Trump was a rightful president. Did you see that?
I think it was kind of misinterpreted. I think.
Okay. Well, okay.
I think that's not really what he said. I think it was kind of misinterpreted when I
Through
listened to
translation.
it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was like
Well,
some kind of
but
weird
this we do
translation.
know though, Nathan, is that the bioweapons labs in Ukraine.
Yes. Hold on though. That is a conspiracy theory that they're bioweapons labs.
It's just
There are.
It's just a biological.
There
They admit there's a
are
lab.
there
Yeah.
are labs that are bio labs that have dangerous pathogens in them, which the WHO revealed. They told the lab to destroy dangerous pathogens. It's like totally 100% real what Russia said. And I don't even know. Yeah, I guess Russia said bioweapons. So yeah, then we go up in front of the UN and we say, oh, this is a conspiracy theory. These damn Ruskies.
But they admit they had. It's called a defense. It's called a DART lab or something like defense. I don't even know what it stands for, but something that's like they call it a defense lab.
Right.
They said it's not a bioweapons lab.
Yeah, it's not a bioweapons lab, but it's bioweapons defense lab, which means they have to make bioweapons to defend against. Basically, they still mess with super dangerous pathogens that could be used as weapons. They're just saying, oh no, we're using it as defense. They still make the damn things.
Well, let's get into that, Nathan, because you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, there's a lot of the people that are like, oh, viruses aren't even real. Viruses aren't even real. And the reason why I never really believe that is because I do believe they're sexually transmitted diseases. Like I believe that, you can have sex with somebody and get a disease. So I never really kind of vibed with there's no, spreadable, communicable diseases. Like that was a little far, in my opinion.
Right. Well, and then welcome to my world. Like I was stuck in that world for a while where I was saying that the virus was real and kind of killing people. And there were people saying that the virus was fake, like Jaron.
I mean, I was at the beginning. Yeah. I mean,
Right.
I didn't think the numbers they were giving us were totally fake. But this is another thing, though, Nathan. I hate to cut you off. Notice how the numbers shot up with the vaccine. So, like, there is something going on. I just think it's either some sort of viral shedding. I believe there. Obviously, my mom got COVID and died, and my mom went from not being that bad to 6 days later she was dead. But she died from remdesivir. We told her not to give her remdesivir, and the infectious disease specialist gave it to my mom behind my back. And so I'm
Really?
working on a lawsuit. Yes, I'm working on a lawsuit with Peter McCullough's attorney right now against Baylor. But the problem is the reason the uphill battle is on the death certificate. It says she died of COVID. So it doesn't say that she died from her lungs filling up with fluid and she suffocated to death. It's kind of a tough battle because nobody's going to be on my side. They're always going to take the company. But where I do have a case is I have them on camera saying, don't give my mom remdesivir, and they still gave it to her. So that's where I have a case is medical malpractice. But at the end of the day, what they did was not technically illegal because I'm not a doctor. An infectious disease specialist can override me if that's what he thought was necessary in the ICU to save my mom's life.
Yeah, it's really hard to sue doctors, it turns out, even when they really screw up. Because,
And they fucked up.
Right. That's terrible. So yeah, we were on the show together back when I was hosting Midnight in the Desert. Then you were on with me, and then Jaron was doing the show with me a little bit, and then they booked like Dr. Kaufman to talk about how the virus wasn't real. Yeah, and that's what everybody was saying. And I was going to swimming against the grain, and it's like I lost a lot of people who listened to the show because of my opinion about the virus, which was just that it was real and killing people. And then that I thought, masks worked and stuff, which people
But
didn't
Nathan,
really appreciate.
you aren't crazy. You were right because listen, I had a friend in college that got SARS and was put on a ventilator, and this was years. This is 2014 or 2010. This is way before. And Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome. There are respiratory viruses. They existed before COVID ever came on the scene. So the idea that was a big conspiracy, they just did that for the past 10 years, and they said and I had people on my show like, oh, the bird flu is fake. All those flus are fake. Now we come to find out, no, those are. Are the numbers as high as they say? Are people dying from the protocols that they're giving them? That's what I think. But yes, there are viruses that make your lungs sick, fill up with fluid, and make you need to go to the hospital because you can't breathe. That is real.
Yeah, yeah, I believe it. Yeah, I mean, definitely. There are things that are definitely questionable, like the HIV virus. There are a lot of questions about that, whether that's definitely because unlike COVID, which I think they have basically isolated the virus, or at least they have the code for it and stuff. I don't know what they have on HIV. I know that when they test for it, apparently they're not testing for it and stuff like that. So,
are you one of the HIV guys? Do you get it from lifestyle choices? Like, that's what they say, because, they even like admit it's almost impossible for a guy to have heterosexual sex with a woman and contract it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And actually the weird thing is my mom back in the 80s, my mom volunteered with AIDS patients who were dying, basically, to be what they called a buddy, which was like you were their friend until they died, basically, because they're dying of AIDS. So I saw it up close. But even back then, she told me, she was like, oh, yeah, by the way, it's really hard to catch. Actually, it's pretty hard to catch, and that you catch it through, because anal
Drugs.
sex. Yeah, because anal sex is kind of like there's tearing and stuff, and there's blood involved. That then you're more likely to have it. But just kind of standard, regular issue stuff is very unlikely, is what I've heard. Yeah, very unlikely. Like HIV, it's hard to catch, basically.
So did your mom, she was around when they were giving AZT to all those people? Because that's what they were giving that expired cancer medicine as a treatment for it. And we know that didn't help people.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I remember being around these guys with AIDS who were dying. But I don't know what it was. I don't know at the time. I was younger, so. But I remember there was like a dinner. She had a bunch of people over to the house, a bunch of people with AIDS and stuff, back when they said you're not supposed to hang out with them. But, so I was.
Your mom is super progressive. That's pretty cool. Your mom's like that.
Yeah, she was like that. So, but I was going to ask you about that. So let me go. I don't even know where to go. Where did you get the idea to do what you're doing now with all your extreme trolling? Where did that idea come from?
Well, honestly, at the beginning of the pandemic is when I really started going to the city council meetings, and I started like really going up there and talking for real and being like, you can't do this and that. And, you're taking away the great reset. And they just looked at me like I'm an idiot. Right. Because these politicians are what are called non-playable characters. Like they can't interact with me. It doesn't matter how smart you sound. Not that I'm some smart sounding guy. I'm just trying to say there's no way you can go in front of these meetings and talk about conspiracy stuff and they'll take you serious. So in my mind, I was like, well, then forget about it. I'm not going to be serious. I'm going to be as crazy and goofy as possible while trying to appear to be serious. I'm going to try to troll them because they're trolling me back. They're not going to take anything I say seriously. So now I'm going to present them the wildest and wackiest thing and try to put it in some sort of neat thing so they think it's real. And I guess just going to these meetings over and over, I went to nearly 12 meetings before that one went super viral. I actually had a speech. I don't know if you've seen this one, but the first video I had that went viral, like Sean Hannity and like Ben Shapiro and some people tweeted. I went and said that abortion. I'm sad that they outlawed abortion because it's the number one form of birth control, and I have a bunch of abortions, and now I'm screwed. Right. And that kind of it didn't put me on the scene, but that was a first taste of like, oh, something can go viral.
Right.
And then, dude, once that the vaccine video went viral, I had already been trolling these people. Obviously, I'd already been taking it as a joke, but it just opened the door. I was like, man, I got to get on these Zooms. And now every day my inbox is full of somebody sending me a school board, a small city Zoom. I mean, I have too many meetings to go to. And there's certain states like Connecticut and Washington that have really good virtual testifying. Like Texas doesn't have it. A lot of other states don't have a good system, but like I can have unlimited meetings to go to because it's all virtual meetings. So I like I said, I grew up like on the Jerky Boys and like Crank Acres, all these crank calls. This is just a new version of that, Nathan, because we're in person. We're doing it on Zoom. So it's like a crank call on steroid. It's better because you get video and audio,
Yes. No, it's excellent.
It just kind of came naturally. It's almost like a prank call. I mean, trolling, I would say. It started off with me trolling and then realizing that you can do it through Zoom. And for me, it's like I'm not going to stop. I mean, it's my channel is just growing so much faster when I started doing these short videos like this.
Mm-hmm. Right. And basically you just show up and troll these city council members. And then do you write all of your material?
No, it's all improv, 100%. Yeah, like even the song. I mean, sometimes I have like I have bits though, you know, I say a lot of the same bits sometimes, which that's why people always that's the biggest complaint. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, you're doing quantity, not quality." And I agree. Like I need to really focus on like doing like certain cities where they hit. Like I had this one, now all these Hawaiians are going crazy. I called into Honolulu and I pretended that I got hit by a rock and the tow truck driver had sex with my wife. And I got mad because they kicked me out of the meeting and I called them dumb Hawaiians. And these people tripped out. They're like, "Oh, you're so racist." They're all these Hawaiians, which I love. Like as a wrestling heel, obviously I don't think it's racist to call somebody dumb, but these people, you know, they're taking it like it is the worst thing in the world. So I forget why my point was why I called them dumb. Well, I was telling you why I called them dumb, but I guess what I'm saying is it's easy to trigger these people in these meetings, and that's why it's effective. I feel like Andy Kaufman. That's my hero, Nathan. I love Andy Kaufman.
Yes. Have you thought, like, if someone wanted to write material for you, would you be interested in any kind of material?
1,000%. And people do pitch me jokes, and I have used it. Like I brought a puppet, and somebody sent me a video of this guy like years ago using a puppet at city council. So I kind of took that idea because I thought it was funny because he was talking about how they're all puppets, and I was like, well, that kind of makes sense. So yes, dude, I'm an open book. I'm a goofball. I don't take myself seriously. That's another problem is people take themselves so seriously. So like when people come up with ideas, I listen to basically all of them. I mean, a lot of ideas are bad. A lot of my ideas are bad. I'm just saying. But when I hear a good idea or somebody writes something good, I will use that 100%.
Okay, interesting. Because I have an idea for some characters, you know, that could
bring them on. I'll do them.
All right, cool. We can talk about it. I'm interested. Yeah, you have something that I don't have. You also walk up to people on the street and ask them questions too, correct?
Yes, a lot of people, you know, I guess in that sense, this is why though, Nathan, I can only say so much that I signed a non-disclosure agreement, but you probably don't know this. I worked for the TV show Cheaters, or you might know that because Dave Rubini had something to do with it a little bit. That's kind of how he knew me.
I know that show.
Yeah. And so on the show, we catch each other. We catch people cheating on their husbands and wives. And the reason why that is unique is we run out in public with cameras. You can't do that in LA or New York because they have laws. Even if you're shooting in a cafe, you know, you have to have a permit. But in Dallas, we don't have the television and motion picture studio film union, whatever. It's a right to work state. They're not going to come after us if we film on any street. So I'm used to just putting cameras in random people's faces, you know, and right. that's I was kind of built for that. And that's why I think that I do it now because I'm used to doing it then.
So you were one of the people that went up to this. So this is a TV show where somebody would, if in theory, and I don't know, a lot of it might have been staged, so you'd have to explain it. But in theory,
well, like I said, there's only so much I can say. But yes, this is how the show works. You have a client. They call us and they say, my husband or wife is cheating on me. Right. So then we send a private investigator to investigate their husband or wife. And oftentimes we found something for, you know, whatever. You know, I can only say so. Like I said, I signed an NDA, so I can a non-disclosure agreement. I can only say so much about this. And I'm a truther. But I mean, when I'm held to a contract, it literally says you're not going to the radio and television and media and talk about disparage the show. But this is what I'm saying. I can be honest when it comes to how the show works. You know, you're supposed to be helping somebody figure out if their loved one is cheating on them. And then when we figure it out, we go and we ambush them. So ambushing with a camera, I was doing even before Project Veritas was doing. I'm used to just running up with a camera, especially in Dallas. Now, if we were in New York or LA, the rules are a little different.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, out in the public, your First Amendment, you're supposed to be able to film, but like we would go in nail salons, we would go in all sorts of places. If that happened and they filed a complaint in Los Angeles, California, I mean, in Los Angeles or New York, the unions would shut you down. It doesn't even matter if you're a non-union. You can't film in those places. They're protected. Right. So I guess, you know, that's why Dallas has the show because it's like the Wild Wild West.
Right. I wonder how Project Veritas does all the stuff they do because they followed this New York Times reporter into a cafe and sat down with him. And then he got away by ducking into another establishment, a pharmacy. And then they weren't able to follow him in there. But I was wondering how they were able to follow him into the cafe in the first place. They must get away with it somehow. They know what they're doing. So
Yeah, he's got a lawyer. I mean, I think it gets to the point of like you can obviously talk to somebody out in the public and film them, but maybe if you follow them into multiple stores, it probably goes into harassment. Like they're probably able to confront him. That's not harassment. And then if he says leave, then they probably can't follow him into stores. Then it probably does become. But outside, you're allowed to walk anywhere. You know, if you're walking down the street, I can walk down the street next to you. That's not a crime.
Right. That's wild. And so you did that show. How old are you?
I'm 35. I'm 35. So I did that show. I started in college when I got suspended from LSU from college first semester for, you know, I got in a fist fight and then I got caught drinking at a college football game. And LSU, I'm like one of the only persons ever to get suspended for an alcohol thing at LSU. But so that semester that I was off, I got a job at Cheaters, like cleaning the freaking bathrooms, cleaning the coffee maker. I mean, I was, you know, go pick up the SD cards for the cameras from the camera supply store.
Right.
And from that, I just kind of worked my way up. I went back to college and graduated. And when I was done with that, I moved to Los Angeles. And I was like, I didn't have a job. I signed up with Central Casting. And I worked on literally probably 100 different productions, some big, like I was in The Office. I was in, you know, Cougar Town where I was featured and stuff. But a lot of times, you know, you would never notice. But once I was there for a couple of years, Cheaters called me. They said, hey, you know, we have a job for you in Dallas. And that's one of the reasons I moved back to Dallas. And I started working in the car business as well, because Cheaters, we only film about 6 months of the year. It's seasonal. We, you know, film about 6 months and then we're on, you know, you take a hiatus. So I came back to Dallas to do that. And I thought I was having fun though, Nathan, because I was creating content. And like sometimes like, you know, the stuff we'd shoot would go viral. But the biggest regret for me was I had a YouTube channel when I was young. I should have just kept creating content on my own, because I guess the story goes like this. This is what the reason why I have my channel now. Is a guy, the host of the show is a guy named Clark Gable. His grandfather is Clark Gable from the movie Gone with the Wind, the famous actor. This guy was my very good friend. He was a wild party animal. I mean, like a high tolerance drug user. You know, I would have never thought this would happen to him. But towards the end of the season, we had just finished like filming. I guess it was like the 17th season. I think it was 17th or 16th. I forget which number. But he ended up buying some Vicodin supposedly, and they had fentanyl in it, and he died. He like took the pills while he was at home. Yeah, with his daughter and wife. Like he wasn't even partying. This guy usually gets shit faced and does coke and stuff. I would have never thought he would die in bed from a pill. And so a few months after he died, the guy that owns the production company, Bobby Goldstein, said, Alex, I'm going to make you the next host. And I felt kind of weird, you know, because I was like, well, this would be cool. I'll make some decent money and I'll get to host a TV show. And I've been working here forever. So it's like, I'm kind of the natural fit. I'm, you know, I can speak, I can confront these people. I know exactly how to do Clark's job. But then when it came to film, you know, this is right before I started my channel in May of 2020, I think is when I started. This is so a little bit January, February, March. It was probably like, March or April. They picked like this 50-year-old, not that it's a bad thing, like black dude that was an ex-DJ. It was totally different than me, you know? So they didn't think my feelings would be hurt. They were just kind of trying to appeal to the audience, which I understood. And they thought that I would stay on and produce shows. And I said, no, I'm not going to go from, I was going to be the host and now I'm just going to go back to my old job. And so one of the other guys on the show, the cameraman, he actually helped me. He's like, hey, you know, I got a microphone, I got a camera, come to a show. And I did my first show with one of the Cheaters guys. And then after that, I loved it so much, Nathan. I bought the webcam. I mean, I bought, you know, a microphone, got a little nicer webcam, and just started doing it on my own. And that's what changed my life. Like I was not like suffering from depression or anything. Not that I don't have depression and anxiety. I guess what I'm saying is, for me, I was kind of rudderless until now, the last couple of years that I've started to create content on my own. It actually gives you joy instead of doing it for somebody else and just collecting a check that you're going to spend in 2 months. It's nice. Even though I probably make less money doing what I do now, it's so much more rewarding because I'm the, you know, it's me. I'm the guy. I benefit from it, not some production company that gets picked up by MTV and makes all this money. Right. I benefit from it. So for me and for the people out there, I say this all the time. If you're like debating creating content, just start. I mean, you're going to suck at first. You're not going to know how to edit. You're not going to know how to work the OBS. You're not going to know how to do this. But over time, it will actually bring you personal joy like any hobby will. It's my favorite hobby. And now it's become a profession. And I didn't think it would happen this fast. But I think for you, you know, as an independent content creator, you have a big audience. You know, you didn't know, you probably, when you first started, didn't know you'd gain an audience, right, Nathan? You're probably kind of nervous.
No, I didn't know how it was going to go. But,
Yeah.
to be honest, it almost never got any better than it was when I first started, because some of my first videos went viral, and then YouTube started suppressing my content, like demonetized me and started suppressing stuff. And then some other stuff came out. But, like, I see, it's great that you get joy. I think I get joy out of what I'm doing still, but I'm not able to. I would tell somebody not to start, probably. Like, if I was to advise somebody about
Really?
getting into this, well, because it's almost impossible, at least for me, right? And I'm deficient in a lot of different ways. But I'm not. I'm broke. Like my wife. I swear to God, I have to get a job. Like my life is. It's terrible. Like I'm fucked.
Yeah, I
And
don't make a bunch of money from this. I know. I
yeah.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just tell people. So it's great. That's great though. For like, I just have a different experience with it lately, because it's so hard. Because you can't say anything on, if like I would. The other problem I know is that if I was allowed to say what I think on YouTube, then I'd have an audience. I'd be able to make money, and if I was monetized there, then I'd have an audience. I would make money, but because that happened before. But now that that's not true and everything else, I don't know. I'm kind of fucked. I'm like maybe at the end of my career, pretty much.
No, no, but I see what you're saying, because you went from hundreds of thousands of subscribers getting taken away from you. I mean, it takes the wind out of your sails. It's easy for me to say because I technically haven't even got as big as you. I probably had, I mean, you've had viral videos, I've had viral videos, but you really built a big channel, and to have that taken away from you, it's hard not to be bitter and be a little upset. But why did, Nathan, you seem very, like, I don't know, pragmatic when you talk. I'm not even trying to kiss your ass or anything, but like, why do they come after you? You don't really seem like some sort of disinformation agent that they would be threatened by.
Oh, I don't know. It's just various things. You just can't talk about certain things, Sandy Hook
Like
and stuff.
Sandy, we know that. Yeah.
And then I don't know, some other stuff, like my channel would get in trouble. And then in the end, it was vaccines. It was vaccines, even though I thought I was fine. I thought I was actually saying things that were allowed because they were true and stuff, but they ended up taking out my channel. So, before that, I wasn't using it though, because they started suppressing stuff so much, and then it's not monetized. And I was just like, what's the point? Because stuff would just get banned, it would just get deleted. So yeah, I appreciate that you think I'm reasonable, but they don't think that,
Well,
apparently.
that's how it is on, not that I'm big into TikTok, but like I've had a couple videos on TikTok that got like 250,000 views. Just one with Greg Abbott, where I asked him, why is it if you die within 2 weeks of the vaccine, taking the vaccine, is that considered an unvaccinated death? That like went viral, deleted from TikTok. Anytime I had a video that got
Right.
500,000 where it's stuck on a magnet. So now I hate TikTok. So
Right.
I can get it. As I'm saying, I don't even want to look at TikTok. People,
Right.
I want to be a TikTok creator. I'm like, why? Every time I do a video that actually, if I do a video and it gets 500 views, that they'll leave that on. But anytime I actually get a video that gets any traction, dude, community guidelines strike. So
Right.
it's like I don't even want to waste my time investing in something that's just going to piss on me right back.
Right. That's it exactly. It's like people say I should be on YouTube, but I'd be investing my time for what? For when I see what they take people down for. It's just difficult. And then also you're demonetized and stuff, so you don't get anything. There's almost nothing you can get out of it. But that's interesting you said about TikTok. This guy is telling me I should make TikTok videos, but
You should, and you can go live on TikTok too. So you could, but it's hard to use a third. You can't like use a third party source. There's some programs they do it, but
right.
really it's for holding your phone and going live like
Yeah,
Instagram.
right, exactly. And I don't know. I've seen some of the things people do live on TikTok, and there's specific things that are almost like hypnotic. Like I saw a guy counting through rolls of quarters to look for specific kinds of quarters, and he was just doing that live, and I was like fascinated, and I thought this is good.
Wait, keep going. I gotta
TikTok
let my dog
content.
out. He's begging to hold on.
Okay, all right. He has a pit bull. A pit bull. I was.
Sorry,
No, that's
keep going
all right.
about TikTok. My dog was just begging me to go pee. Okay, so well, you're saying he was checking quarters. What he's trying to find, what, the 1960 some quarter that's worth a bunch of money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he was doing that with like rolls and rolls, and he was just doing that over and over, one quarter at a time. And he had some kind of fancy camera and stuff. And I was like, okay, this is TikTok content. I get it. But I don't think somebody's tuning into TikTok to hear a news show. That's the only thing. I don't think,
right.
you know, as far as I can tell, but
they want you dancing. If you do the news, if you're like the vaccine is safe and effective, or you know, that's like the thing is they try to slip news while doing some stupid dance. I've seen viral videos like that.
Right, I know. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I'd like to be able to expose things, you know, like 9/11 or Sandy Hook or something. I'd like a world where I could talk about those things. So what do you do? Do you broadcast? I know you're on Jaron's show, and then you're on.
I'm on YouTube, but dude, I don't talk about crap. Like anytime I have a guest on, I just did a show earlier today. The guy talked about the election was fraud. I immediately had to delete the episode off YouTube because I've gotten election, what they call misinformation. You can't say anything on YouTube. I mean, I am so extra careful. It just sucks. Like you said, I still have my channel, but dude, if they wanted to go back and retroactively cancel me, they could probably find something to cancel me. Even me being extra careful and deleting the episodes, this and that, because it's an artificial intelligence algorithm thing that's like reading the transcription of my voice.
Right.
And if it hits some sort of red flag, you don't have a day in court. You can appeal it. But I've had everyone I appealed. One, I actually got it approved. It was like this Yulin Chinese festival. Somehow they approved my appeal. And they gave my video back. But on all my other strikes on multiple channels, it's always like denied immediately. You know what I mean? That's
it. Exactly. Like, you know, they're not. That's what started happening to me with the vaccine videos. Is I was like, I knew it wasn't misinformation. It was like a mainstream news story. So I'd appeal it, but I'd get the appeal back immediately. So I knew nobody looked at it. And it's not fair because the other channels, like Jimmy Dore, for example, because I know because he talked about it on his show, he has a handler at YouTube who he can talk to, right? Mm-hmm. And who tells him, oh, this is what you can't say, this is what you can say, and is totally reasonable with him. And, you know, and will tell him, and then he's monetized.
That's because it's not an artificial intelligence thing. So there's a guy that's a big content creator, Anomaly. I don't know if you've ever.
Yeah, I know Anomaly. Him.
Yeah, but see, he played a video of DeSantis telling the kids they could take off their masks for COVID theater.
Right.
And they gave him a strike and they denied his appeal, but through Team YouTube on Twitter, they gave him the video back.
Right.
So if you do have a big enough following, you can, and you had a big following, but you couldn't get to a real person. You're appealing to a robot. So if a real person was able to see the nuance of what you're trying to say, that you're using real mainstream sources, you would have a case, but you don't have a case against a robot.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. And then, there was a time back in the day when I was able to communicate with people who worked for Team YouTube and they were able to help me out, but I don't think that's possible anymore. So it's just kind of fucked, man. We live in a fucked up world.
I hate that for you, Nate. Though I hate that for you because you do grind. It just sucks that, you know, the world is like that. I mean, I'm not trying to say that I'm not a victim of it, but you're such a bigger victim of it. It really sucks.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, you're going out there and doing stuff, and so you're working under. There are other people who are working under the same problems I have that are more successful. So it's just a question of, you know, whatever it is, you know, motivation and marketing and other things.
What about Rockfin? We're live on Rockfin. Do you take your crypto and immediately transfer it to cash, or do you hold on to any of it?
I need the money, so I sell it. I turn it into Ethereum and I sell it.
Yeah,
I would love to hold on to it, but I don't have that like luxury right now. But I'd love for crypto to go up. I mean, that's another thing dragging me down is like crypto was supposed to be way higher by now, and crypto's kind of been dragging ass. So I don't know what's going to happen. Stuck at like
39,000 kind of right now. The price of Bitcoin.
Yeah, Bitcoin.
That affects everything.
Yeah, that affects everything, and other stuff hasn't done that well. So. Gotta hope for that to come back, but I'm trying to get a job as a crypto. I already do crypto consulting where people can sign up for that, and some people do, but I'm trying to get a job doing that for a mainstream company. But that's the other thing is I don't know if people will Google my name and get my Twitter account and then decide that I'm not okay to hire. You know what I mean? That's the other thing.
Know if they do the background check. But the thing is, yours, I mean, what is so controversial? I don't even know what's so controversial that you do. I mean, you know yourself better than me, but
apparently I'm extremely controversial. because I'm banned from PayPal and stuff. And then my
And why do
wife
you think he got
from
banned from PayPal? I mean, that's just, I don't understand why they do that to so many people because of your content.
Yeah, I think it might have been something I said. Tell me if this is controversial or offensive. I said that Jews were historically involved in shady businesses. Basically, I said it's just like a fact, right? That Jews have kind of historically been around, and I think somebody took offense to that. I know that this guy Gabe Hoffman. Do you know Gabe Hoffman? Do you know who that is?
Kind of familiar.
He's this guy who was like a personal ADL who would go around trying to cancel people. And I know he was on somebody else's show complaining about that. But I mean, I don't know if it's that controversial since they're, banking and pornography and the transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah, but you
know
who you can't talk about. You know that. You can't talk about anything. If you even say the word Jew, you're an anti-Semite.
Yeah,
basically.
that's what happens, right? So I think that's what happened. Jaron is banned too. We got banned on the same day, me and Jaron.
No, because I know he's banned, but y'all got banned at the same exact time. That's weird. That's like somebody reported y'all.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's what ended up happening. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I really think that people shouldn't be allowed to be banned from these services like PayPal and YouTube and Twitter and stuff.
Or AT&T or a no-fly list. I mean, dude, they put Nick Fuentes on a no-fly list because of his political views. This no-fly list was intended to stop terrorism, and that's the other thing, Nathan. Like we all talk about it as truthers. 9/11 was obviously not what they told us. I mean, the 9/11 Commission report is fraud. I mean, you and I both, I believe, is a controlled demolition, and orchestrated by Israel, Saudi Arabia, and America. We were all in cahoots on it to start a never-ending war. But the thing is, I didn't realize, all of us at the time didn't think that they would be weaponized against its own citizen as domestic terrorism. I would have never thought that. And now looking back, watching movies like Arlington Road with Tim Robbins, that's about like a house dad that like ends up like trying to blow up a building. They kind of were laying the groundwork. They knew that. They knew that they could use the Patriot Act and all this stuff against its own citizens. We were just so dumb at the time to believe that, our biggest threat is some guys in a desert, 6,000 miles away. It's ridiculous how we signed up for all this stuff, Patriot Act, the warrantless search and seizure of our phone and email records. And it's all going to be used against us in the future. We have no privacy whatsoever.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. But you haven't been, so you still exist. I just saw somebody else got banned from Twitter today. This Vanessa Beeley. I don't know if you know who that is. She's like a journalist who's pretty serious and stuff.
Did she have a blue check mark? No.
I don't think she had a blue check mark, but she was well known and everything, and she got banned. And now I'm wondering if they're ever going to ban me. I'd be really bummed out if they ban me from Twitter, because I'm like you. Like I feel like I'm not that controversial, but they think I am. So
we talk about controversial topics, but I try to kind of almost talk about it in a sarcastic way. That's not this like you're gonna die from a bioweapon from a Chinese lab. I mean, you kind of have to be a little more subtle. And that's the other thing, Nathan. As a truth speaker, whatever, as a truther, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's why people probably like it, because you don't yell at your audience. You don't like talk to your audience. I mean, you're talking like with them, and people don't like to be talked to. That's why they like comedy. That's why comedy helps wake people up, because they kind of question, is this real or is this fake? And it motivates people to do their own research. But if you just tell them facts, if you just say, oh, well, there's dancing Israelis. Oh, there's this Israeli art students on the 93rd floor. They're like, okay, you're an anti-Semite. You're an asshole. Shut up.
Right.
But if you can kind of joke about the dancing Israelis, or somehow put it in a joke, that is like the sugar makes the medicine go down. You kind of have to trick people like that. You have to. It's like you put a pill in bologna for your dog to eat it. You can't just make the dog eat the pill. He won't do that. You got to trick him into enjoying it.
That's right. Yeah, I've done a little stand-up comedy before, and sometimes it is a little controversial. I might have to do that again and just see how it goes. And just 100%. To try to red pill people a little bit. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it is good to be able to get people. That it might be the only way to be able to talk about certain things, sort of about the vaccine and stuff, is to do it in a comedic way.
Yeah,
So
like to be sarcastic, like I was calling into meetings, I had to call into meetings and be like, "Oh, we got to get everybody vaccinated." And yeah, some people might get myocarditis, not a
right,
big deal. Because
right,
then you're kind of like, "Wait, what? What did you just say?
right,
Did you say
exactly,
it's not a big deal to get myocarditis?" And it
right,
makes you kind of question, "Oh, wait, this is the side I'm on. This is weird. This is a
right,
kind of a weird. I'm on the same side as this freak.
right.
Maybe I need to do a little self, uh, look in the mirror, do some self reflection."
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of actually, as a person who's aware of all the side effects, but still insists on vaccines just because compliance is so good, because it's so virtuous to be compliant.
It is, and they like it's really this weird psychological operation where they like tell people they want to be individuals and you can pick your sex and all this stuff, but at the same time you have to wear your mask, you have to get a vaccine passport. They take away your individualism, so I think they're just
Right,
like confusing people. It's like this upside down world when really we all need to just be unapologetically ourselves and not worried about the opinion of others, because most of the time people, even your best friend might, I mean, your best friend probably likes you, but like I guess your biggest hater is a friend, and then your biggest fan is a stranger. So it's hard to try to appease to these people because no matter what, they're always going to find a fault in you to dislike you. So you just got to be yourself. You just got to own it and not try to be somebody you're not.
right, right. So do you think you ever, so you don't worry about people knowing about your beliefs. So we should talk about your beliefs then too. I don't know if this ever comes up on these shows you're on, but you believe, I did well, you know what I do? You said that it's good not to tell people. What I started doing is polling people,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can say themselves what conspiracy theories they believe in. So I asked people today, for example, if the earth was flat. I've been asking my followers different questions. One question I asked was how many children died at Sandy Hook, right? And it was
27 or is it 24? What is it?
well, so see, you don't even know the official answer. So I
Is it
put
29?
I
I know
put
it, but I don't know it.
I put 15, 20, 26, or 0. Okay.
26.
Right? No, 26 is wrong too. And you're not alone. That was the most common that was the most common correct answer that people put down was 26. It was actually 20 kids and 6 adults. So
Oh,
supposedly,
that's what okay, yeah, I
right.
see what you're
It was
saying.
20
Yeah.
kids and 6 adults. But 80% of people who answered the poll said it was 0. So, which I thought was good. So that shows the people following me. And then I also asked how many planes were hijacked by Al Qaeda on 9/11, and was it 2, 3, 4, or 0? And most people said 0. Most people said 0. So most people who follow me are conspiracy theorists.
Sure.
I asked if the earth was flat. What do you
What'd they
think?
say?
What do you think based on the results I just told you from those other polls?
Well, this is the problem though, is like even in the conspiracy world, it's like saying you're a flat earther, which I don't like to say either, because that's basically like saying you're a Nazi. I mean, it's because it's been demonized by the people like even Barack Obama will say you literally sound like you're a retard if you say the earth is flat.
Right.
So I would say there's more people that don't believe in the heliocentric model that they tell us. But that'll go all the way and say flat earth. Not a lot of people because it's so stupid. So I don't know, probably 50-50 on something like that.
Okay.
I mean,
You're pretty close. Like 50% of people who answered the poll so far, 48.4% said the earth is not flat. Okay.
Yeah.
They believe the regular model, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 23% said yes, it is flat out of my followers on Twitter. And then another 28% said it maybe is flat.
They don't know.
So
Yeah,
actually between people who think it is flat or maybe flat, that's the majority. So people who think it isn't flat is the minority actually by a little tiny bit, but it's about 50-50.
Well, don't quote me on this, but I've heard David Weiss say in like a room of people, it's usually 20% is like flat earthers. That's it because he's a flat earth, he's the flat earth guy. So he talks to people and he says there's usually about 20%, 2 out of 10 people are like, I'm a full, I don't believe the earth is a ball. But then there's people that are on the fence because for me, listen, we can see there's large bodies of water. We can see too far for it to fit into the curve formula of 8 inches per mile.
Okay. All right. Let's be clear about this because I thought about it. Okay. You're giving the best evidence for that. It might be flat, right? One of them,
yes.
One
in
of
my
them
opinion,
is
But this is one thing I want to say is I believe it to be some sort of bowl. Like it's a bowl. It's so it can have a ball shape to it. There could be something round to it. But the idea that it's a ball made of water when there's inexplorable places in the North Pole that we can't go, and there's places in the South Pole we can't go. There's no independent exploration below the 60th parallel. So I guess for me, it's just there's still a lot of answers to the idea though that we're flying through space. This is for me where I know. I believe, me personally, I call myself a geocentrist because when you look at the machinations of the heliocentric model, we are going so many different directions. At the equator, we're at a ball that's 25,000 miles around the equator, supposedly. And then that would mean that we have to spend roughly 1,100 miles an hour to spend one time a day. Then on top of that, the Earth is orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles an hour. And then on top of that, the sun, we're moving in concert with the sun 1.4 million miles. And then the entire Milky Way galaxy is moving 4.5 million miles an hour through an ever expanding universe of space. Yet all of this happening every single night, Polaris, the North Star, is basically in the same spot. So just for me, the idea that we're moving in all these different directions, I can't feel that because I've been in an earthquake. Have you ever been in an earthquake, Nate?
Yes.
Dude, it was scary. The walls are bending, and we didn't move that much. I mean, we really didn't move that much. So obviously, you're going to say, "Oh, well, inertia and gravity, and this is why we don't feel the movement." But also, when I look at an airplane, when you're flying from New York to California, you should be gaining speed. Instead, it's slower, and the Earth is spinning underneath you. So they say that inertia keeps you, magically connected to it, even though you're going 500 miles an hour.
Right.
The force of it. So for me, I just don't think the Earth is moving. Now, the exact shape of it, I mean, gosh almighty, we can see really far over certain bodies of water, but that doesn't mean there's hills. That doesn't mean there's valleys. So to say it's flat is really very ingenuine. That's why I don't like to say that.
Okay, so you don't say it's flat, but we agree.
I do say I'm a geocentrist, yeah, because I don't like saying flat Earth because it's just so freaking, everybody freaks out. But I do like to say that maybe the Earth isn't the exact center of the universe, but from our senses, when we look at the sun, moon, and stars, it gets the appearance that it's rotating around us. And that's what our senses tell us. That's just what we see with our eyes. When we see a sunrise and sunset, we see it rising, we see it setting. But they tell us that you're on a ball and you're spinning 1,100 miles backwards. That's why the sun is going away. That for me, I don't think that's when I see the sun, moon, and stars moving in the sky, I think they're moving.
Yes. You are correct that it's impossible that the model that they use it's not possible because stars and things would not stay in the same place. They wouldn't be in the same predictable position for what is it, a 36,000 year cycle or whatever the precession of the equinoxes is. I mean, it repeats every 30,000 years and it's always the same and it's the same every night and there's no parallax, right?
And celestial navigation has been used forever. Sorry, no parallax. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. But that's important, right? So those are things where I feel like, I'm a pretty intelligent person. Like you would be able to tell somebody that, but people still don't get it. You still can't tell people that. And then the other thing you mentioned, okay, so I was going to pick the things that I would say for people who believe that are in favor of flat Earth. Well, obviously the moon landing stuff and the fake space stuff. But then you should, if there is a curve, maybe you can still hear me. If there is a curve, I don't know if he can hear me. Hey, Alex, look, what's he doing?
Sorry, my dog was going crazy. Okay, you're talking about flat Earth. She was scratching at the door so much. I had to
That's all right. That's your pit bull, right?
Yeah, it's Ginger, the one that protects me. Thank God.
That's good. Yeah, you need it. I was going to talk to you about that. So if you're looking across a surface based on the formula that flat earthers use, which is correct, I guess, which is that the Earth should curve.
Well, it's not technically correct because 8 inches per mile squared actually makes a parabola. It doesn't make a perfect circle, but it's the closest shape to the description that they give us, the official description.
Okay, all right.
About roughly 25,000 miles around the equator.
Roughly 8 inches. So the horizon
8 inches per mile squared.
Right. So the horizon should drop. What that means for people listening to the show is the horizon should fall 8 inches for every mile you can see. And then it's actually per mile squared. So after 2 miles, it's 64 feet?
Yeah. And
after 2 miles?
Yes,
Is
and
it
no,
that
no,
fast?
after 10 miles, it's more than 64 feet. We got to do the math, but
After two,
um,
it's anyway. So it's per mile squared, and based on that, you shouldn't be able to see across the water as far as you can see. Like for example, on what cities can you see? Like Chicago.
you can see the entire skyline of Chicago over Lake Michigan, which doesn't make sense because it should be covered up by nearly a mile of curvature because it's one of the biggest lakes in the world. And then
Right.
you also look at, they even say like Kansas is flatter than a pancake. That's the official story. So that's kind of weird how Kansas can be so flat. People don't talk about Kansas a lot, but that doesn't conform to the 8 inches per mile squared either.
Right. So that's a weird thing, right? So that doesn't work. And then also boats don't disappear over the horizon, which
You
I've
can pull them
still
right back in with a zoom.
I've still heard people say, the earth isn't round because boats come up, and I was like, no, that's not true. Boats
That's not true because if you have a freaking zoom camera, you can. It's just because you can't see it because
right.
the angular our eye can only see so far naturally without a zoom lens, without some sort of enhancement.
Right. And if you zoom in, it comes right back. And then besides that, then if you really wanted to get into it, the sun and moon are holograms. Have you gotten into that part yet?
Well, people like that. I mean, that's another thing. When you look at the sun, I mean, in the moon is called the inverse square law of light. If you look at moonlight, it is so bright. So you can reverse engineer it. You can say how many lumens it is here and how powerful it would have to be for it to make it here. So it doesn't make sense. Those guys on the moon, that when they land on the moon, it'd be like they landed on a light bulb. I mean, because they actually went there when it was supposedly getting crushed by the sun, when it was getting reflected by the sun.
I know.
It doesn't make any sense. And also, if you measure moonlight, it's colder than sunlight. And it's more combustible. So like in the sun, if the sun is shining on you and you get in the shade, you're cooler in the shade. But if you're getting hit by the moonlight and you go in the shade, you're warmer in the shade than in the moonlight. You're cold. The moonlight makes you colder.
Interesting. Well, so the reason I said I believe the moon is lit by the sun because it makes sense based on where the sun is. Like for example, when there's a full moon, it's right at sunset and the sun is setting straight across from it, and you can see it, and it looks like the sun is facing the moon. So it makes sense that the sun lights up the moon, however that works. But because of like corpuscular rays, right?
Yeah, that's the rays shining through the sun are such an angle. It doesn't make sense that it's coming 93 million miles away like that. And
Right.
then all of a sudden making these weird angles.
Right. You can see these rays coming down from the sun as if the sun is a lot closer. And it changes what you see based on where you are. So actually the sun is just a projection, and the moon is too, basically. It's just a projection of some sort. But
I think I like to think that myself. I mean, I really don't think the moon is some dusty rock like they say. I find that hard to believe. And it's weird. I don't know if you know this. Did you know the moon does 13 28-day cycles? And that's 364 days. So I believe the sun, moon, and stars are a clock in the sky. I mean, they're really important, but that's what we use to tell time. Because like these people, like when they find people like in the bush or whatever, like the Serengeti, like bush people, they never know they ask them how old they are. They don't know because they don't like use the sun to measure it. But I'm saying if you use the sun, you have a brain, you can use it as a literal clock.
Right. Well, correct. Right. Which people did. Right. And then it's weird and improbable that the moon would be exactly the same size as the sun. But
it's 1/24th away. Right. That's what they tell you. It's perfectly. It just fits perfect. It actually 1/24th of it, and that's why it's the exact same to our eyes. That's why they say it's the exact same size, which is such bullshit. It
just seems highly unlikely. So how do you feel? And I'll ask you about dinosaurs. So we talked about flat Earth, so that's good. And you say you're not ashamed, but on the other hand, you're smart enough not to call yourself a flat earther. Oh, and the other thing you mentioned that I would also mention to people is that we have not, well, it seems like we haven't gone to the South Pole, basically. That we've said we've gone to the South Pole, but it doesn't seem like it, and nobody's crossed.
It's a ceremonial point that we go to.
Nobody's
it's not the
crossed
actual South Pole,
right? Nobody's crossed the continent, right?
Well, they say that this guy went on Joe Rogan and walked it, and then they looked at his path. It just kind of went around the rim of it. But regardless, listen, you're gonna say, oh well, Antarctica, is it 60,000 miles of a bowl? I don't necessarily know that either because there is no independent exploration. That's the other thing. It's like even if you're a billionaire, if you're a Mark Cuban or whatever, and you wanted to go do it, you couldn't. Which I think that's weird because look at all these countries. We're fighting with Russia. We're fighting with all these countries. Yet in 1954 we signed the Antarctica Treaty. It might be 1952, whatever. It's in the 50s, and every country is stuck to that under the guise of, oh, we got to save the penguins or we got to save the stuff. When there is definitely oil and gas and all kinds of stuff. And General Admiral Byrd, he's a Freemason, so people are going to say he's a liar. But he was a guy that went there and explored it. And he said there's tropical parts of it. He said there's parts where it'd be cold, and that would make sense if it was a huge thing. It would make sense that there could be tropical parts if it's basically like a shoreline to the Earth. At the same time, I don't know because I've never been there. So I don't want to be these guys like, oh, I know exactly what it is because I don't want to be a liar because I feel emotionally attached to something.
Well, it is weird. Just to say what's weird to people is we don't fly over it. It seems like we would. It seems like it, right? It seems like it, right? From like Peru to Australia, right?
It's too cold though. It's too cold.
Is that what they say?
Yeah. And there's no emergency landing spots. Yeah, there's a lot of places where we fly in long distance. There's not emergency landing spots.
I know.
And
right?
have you ever looked at emergency landings? The prove the flat Earth. Have you ever seen that guy's channel? It's like Flat Earth, Banjo, Sun, Moon, and Clock. Whatever. He has like this weird app. And dude, it doesn't make sense in all these flights. They're always emergency landing in like Alaska or California, and they don't make any sense on the flight path that they take. But like I said, the AE map is not accurate. That's what the map a lot of the flat earthers use. That's not an accurate map. But if you chart these emergency landing flights, they're always a straight line, and it always makes sense why they stop there. But when they show us the airline flights, it's always like a curve. It's like this weird rounded trip, and you can't tell because you're in the air, but when they crash land or emergency land, it's like they were on a straight path. So,
that's interesting too.
Yeah, that's a video you need to watch tonight, Nathan. You've never seen that? You've never seen emergency landings on the flat Earth?
Emergency landings on the flat Earth. I have to look into it.
It's something like that. Yeah, it's something called something like that. But this guy, he breaks it down, and there's like 17 flights that he says proves the shape of the Earth because their flight paths do not match the itinerary that they present.
Interesting. And then people have shown when you flatten out the map and you turn it into that thing that looks like the UN flag, then when you show these flights that look weird on the globe Earth, they look correct on the flat Earth.
They're straight. Yeah, they're basically straight on that map.
Yeah,
and that map's not accurate, too, because that map has some flaws. And people get mad at that. They say, "Oh, this is the map." Even that map is incorrect.
Right.
I mean, it's more correct than you'd say the globe model, but at the same time, it's still not perfect because we can't do the independent exploration, so we won't ever know.
Right. And do you know 24-hour sun? Because one of the problems with the flat Earth map is you wouldn't have 24-hour sun in the Antarctic.
Yeah, that's what they say. But see, this one's kind of weird though too because you don't necessarily see the sun. You have 24 hours of sunlight. So
right.
That is possible that the sun could still be emanating, but at the same time, like, people tell you no, it's impossible on the, that proves that we're on a ball. At the end of the day, I don't think that necessarily does prove that. I mean, maybe it debunks something, but I don't think that means that we're on a ball made of 80% water.
And also, there's a different pole. There is no North Pole star. You don't see it when you're in the southern hemisphere, right? There's a different pole star.
That's what they say. Yeah, they use a different one. But we've been using celestial navigation for forever, so I even think that kind of debunks it because, okay, so we're able to find another star that we're able to, I mean, and they'll say, oh, it's so far away, that's why it's still, but all the other ones are moving. So it's just weird that we're able to find these points, but the other ones give us the impression that they're going in a circle.
Well, okay. So there's some questions. It's not perfect. That's the truth. The flat Earth model
not perfect. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. That's why I don't want to come here and say, oh, I know exactly what it is. I don't.
All right. And then what about evolution and dinosaurs and so forth?
Well, I've debated this. I mean, this
Oh,
is
you have?
really,
Oh,
yeah, this is where
good.
you're getting your tinfoil hat. So
Katie's
you look,
wondering about dinosaurs, where
well,
she was
I forget the
asking.
guy. It's like Sir Richmond. I can't think Sir Edmund something. I can't forget, but I can't remember the two guys. But it was called the Bone Wars, and basically all of these bones were found at the same time by these Freemasons in like the late 1890s to the early 1900s.
So,
And
just to be clear, there were no dinosaurs. I want to be clear on this so I understand it. There were no dinosaurs found by any human civilization before 1800 and something.
yes, basically, or
No.
they,
So we had humans on Earth forever, and these dinosaur bones are supposedly just laying around different places, right?
yeah, like
And
they
nobody's
said that.
ever.
Well, they said they've like found maybe woolly mammoth bones and they've seen big bones, but at the same time, there's like people that are biblical scholars or whatever. They'll say, "Oh, there's things called Nephilim at one point." Now, I don't know if this is true, but the Bible describes Nephilim as these giants that like made love with humans that were basically casted out of heaven and sent here on earth. And so there are these huge giant bones. Now, you look at these animals. Do I think the lizards exist? Yeah. Are there some big lizards? Are there some big, animals? For sure. Could these bones have been that? That's what I think is more likely than the fact that there's just these millions of animals, yet we only have zero T-Rex skeletons all the way complete. There's literally zero. They'll say we got 95% or something, but they're always missing some parts. And at the same time, every single dinosaur bone you've ever seen, Nathan, they admit is made in a place in China with chicken bones and paper mache or whatever, because they say that the actual dinosaur bones are too radioactive to be out in the public. So that's weird too. That every
They say,
museum you're looking at fake bones.
yes, right. So you go to the Smithsonian, and they have a big dinosaur there, just like in Jurassic Park, actually. You go there, and there's a big dinosaur with bones. It's all the bones, right? Just the bones. And they're all not real. None of them are actual bones from the real dinosaurs that
They're
were
casts.
supposedly real. They're casts. And then the real bones are supposedly in the basement somewhere, or what?
Yeah, or they're in the lab. They're under lock and key because they have so much
Radioactive?
Yeah,
That's what they say? Why would they be
that
radioactive?
I don't know, but that's what they say. That's one of the things they say about the bones is that's why we can't be near them.
You heard somebody's trying to bring back the woolly mammoth? I heard somebody
No,
just raised like $64 million or something stupid like that. Some startup is trying to bring back the woolly mammoth.
well,
What
now
do you,
they have stuff, Nathan, where you can clone your dog. You can take your dog before it
yes.
dies, and they can actually use another dog's uterus or whatever, and it'll still come out. Like, let's say you have a golden retriever you like, they can put it in a pit bull dog, and they'll still come out a golden retriever. So that's kind
Yes.
of weird.
Yes. That is possible, scientifically possible. So what about woolly mammoths? I kind of believe in those. I
Yeah,
think
I do
they
too.
found some of
I
those.
think there are some huge woolly mammoths, but are
Mm-hmm.
they 65 billion years old? That
Right.
is kind of where they lose me. I don't. The Earth is probably older. I don't think I'm not like one of this new Earth creationists that the Earth is only 6,000 years old. I think it's got to be older than that. Personally, I mean, like I said, I'm talking about stuff that we're theorizing. I'm not telling you like this is a fact. But the idea that it's that old seems like a little bit of a stretch.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I don't know. I certainly don't know. I think a lot about history and a lot about, well, the pyramids and previous civilizations of humans who were more advanced than we were a long time ago, which I believe is definitely the case based on the things they could build, which we couldn't even do now, basically, if we wanted to.
Well,
So,
Nathan, we can't recreate those pyramids, and then
no.
also like this is where it gets, you get in kind of the real tinfoil hat. You talk about like Tartaria and our history. What do we know? You look at these buildings, some of these ornate buildings for the World's Fair and stuff, built in these in like San Francisco and Chicago. Now we're like immediately torn down after. These are some of the most ornate buildings that we've ever seen, and they were built supposedly without power tools. So I mean, how in the world did they didn't even have roads? There's some places like they didn't even have roads in these cities, yet they're able to get all of these supplies and all this stuff. They don't have a Home Depot there. They don't have a factory just making every screw and bolt. So how are they able to make some of this? And then also look at this, Bologna, Italy. That's a new one that I've been watching. Bologna, Italy. Have you ever heard of this? It basically was like Manhattan, but during the medieval times. Have you ever heard about Bologna?
No, I haven't heard this story.
Okay, Google it. Well, they
Fascinating.
have these buildings. They're like 80 stories high. Why would they have all these buildings that high? type in Bologna, just type in a picture so you can see. Type in Bologna, Italy buildings. It's
Okay.
so weird. Why in the medieval times did they have all these freaking? Why would you need to build a building that high when you have all the room? It's just
Right.
very weird.
Right. Okay. So where am I supposed to? What do I type in? Just
Type in
Bologna.
Bologna, like you type in Bologna,
Oh
and
yeah,
Bologna, Italy buildings.
I see. There are these towers that are incredibly tall. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and from the medieval time, there's like two of them that are still standing. Like one's,
Mm-hmm.
but there used to be a bunch. They actually ended up tearing them down, which is also weird too. Like, why would they only keep a couple of them up? It's almost like they're trying to hide something because the city supposedly from sketches in the medieval times, it was tons of tall buildings. They described it as being like Manhattan.
Wow. Yeah. I definitely think that there's something about history that they're not telling us. Well, that word, but that one guy talks about. Obviously, that guy who goes on Rogan and stuff. What's his name? The guy,
Graham, whatever.
right, Graham
Yeah.
Hancock. I've listened to his books and stuff, and I'm relatively convinced that humans were way more advanced. I don't know what they were able to use, some kind of maybe levitation technology, maybe some kind of technology where they were able to mold. However they did it, though, it's weird that we haven't found the machines that they used, which makes you think that they were using something other than machines, maybe, to do what they did. It seems weird that we haven't found any of the stuff that they would have needed, the power tools and so forth. I mean, the Egyptians were cutting through granite. I don't understand how anyone accepts it, actually. That's one weird thing. Is
Yeah,
why
how are they
doesn't
cutting those huge pieces of granite? And then also look at like some of our music from like the 1600s and stuff. I mean, it's some of the most beautiful music still today. So it's just like they were able to create these instruments that just sound so beautiful. Like the music's almost not even as good now as some of that classic music.
right?
The earliest music that we had. So a lot of it doesn't make sense. These humans are special beings. Did they? And you look at all these buildings. Did they have these big towers that look like they're could harvest some sort of energy? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I mean, we're in the woods, we're deep in the woods. But like I said, the history they give us, it's his story. It's not the real story.
It's his story, right? It's a story, but we're
Yeah.
trying to learn what's really real. Yeah. What do you think? So, what if I wanted to get you canceled? I would ask you about the Holocaust, right?
Oh
That's what
my
really
gosh. Well,
gets you
you
in
know
trouble.
that. I mean, you know what happened there. I don't even want to talk about that
Yeah.
and get canceled and lose my PayPal. But
Yeah.
you
You'll
guys,
lose your
well,
PayPal.
this I will talk about World War II though. I will tell you this. It's similar to what's going on in the Ukraine right now. It's weird that this is what they tell us, that these horrible atrocities were happening in Germany. Yet we didn't get in the war until Pearl Harbor, until we got bombed by the Japanese. So that's kind of weird that that's what took us to go save the Jews. And then you look at like Ukraine, it's like they don't want to go over there and intervene, but what will make us intervene in it? So I guess what I'm saying is the idea Operation Paperclip after after World War II was over, after we won, we gave Werner von Braun and these guys, a free reign of America. Well, aren't these guys war criminals? Aren't they the worst people in the world? Shouldn't they all be in jail? Like Joseph Mengele supposedly moved to South America and lived his life. He did experiments on children where he would find twins. He loved twins. He would take out one eyeball and see if he could do it, put it in the other kid's eyeball. And a lot of times they would test one kid and then they'd keep one kid normal to see what the effects were. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
this is an evil guy. This is one of the worst guys you should get. Even Israel supposedly hunted him. Israel sent people to hunt him through South America and they never found him. Something's weird's going on with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's something weird about World War, and the fact that Hitler just killed himself in a bunker. That's
Yeah.
weird too.
Yeah. That seems unlikely. It seems unlikely that he killed himself. There's pretty weak evidence for that. As far as the Holocaust goes, well, yeah, I guess it's better not to talk about it. But it is interesting that nobody talked about or wrote about it after the war, like in their war histories, Charles de Gaulle and
It was out of all their
Churchill,
biographies. Yeah, that
right?
was
All their
weird.
biographies, they didn't mention the extermination of the Jews and gas chambers and stuff. And people didn't really start talking about it until like the 1960s or something, which is weird. But Hitler hated
World War
Jews.
II
They
is
definitely killed
weird. That's
people.
another thing. That war was not that long ago. So think about like Vietnam. Think about the Iraq War. Like all these wars they tell us are just such bullshit. They're
I
just
know.
we're there for the stupidest reasons.
What's your take on the current situation in the Ukraine? I mean, what do you think about what's going on over there?
I mean, sorry, somebody's texting me. I'm supposed to go meet up
Oh,
to
you have to go?
somebody. I got to go in
We
like
can
5 minutes.
wrap it up.
Okay. No, no,
Okay.
no. I love it. So what's going on in the Ukraine? This is what I'm worried about. They're pumping up Zelensky like he is like he's some sort of hero. That makes me worried because I don't believe anything I don't believe anything the mainstream media says.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just think it's funny that you're allowed to praise Nazis now. I think that's great. Facebook changed their rules that you can say, kill the Ruskies. But they also changed the rules where you're allowed to praise Azov Battalion now specifically. And it's
That's
just
so weird.
crazy.
And there's like no Nazis, so
I
that is
know.
so weird.
I know. We live in a weird time where it's totally okay. It's where it is okay to praise Nazis as long as they're killing Russians. That's it. And Facebook
And
says it's okay.
yeah, and that's who gets to decide. Facebook and the technocracy
Right.
and YouTube. Why do they get to pick?
I know, right? I know. I wish there was a world with free speech and stuff. So are you going on a date? Do you have a
Well,
date?
no, this girl invited me. She has a thing called the conspiracy night at her house with her family, and she's just a friend of mine. But she's a nice girl, so I kind of wanted. I said I would try to go, so
Okay,
I
that's
didn't realize
cool.
it's already 8:15.
We can let you go. We can let you go. That's fine.
Well, let's wrap it up, though. I mean, I really enjoyed this conversation. We went deep into some conspiracies, but we got to do it again before
Yes.
not too long.
Yes, and then I can take phone calls too.
We can get really deep.
Yeah. We
Okay,
can get
all right.
really
Well, then
deep.
I'm out of here. Then,
All right.
then, dude, Nathan, it was a
All right.
pleasure.
Thanks,
We'll
Alex.
We'll talk soon. Thank you for
talking to
having
you.
me on, dude.
Thanks for making time on the show.
Oh, dude, anytime.
All
Just
right.
message me later. Peace.
All right, man. See ya. All right. You can find Alex Stein on Twitter at AlexStein99. You can find him on this other network I'm on right now, Rockfin, where I'm sure he's rockfin.com/Alex Stein. I don't know for sure, but you can find him. Just go on Rockfin, search for Alex Stein. That's the best way. And then he shows up on Jaron's show. He has a show called Win Alex Stein's Money, where it's a quiz show. So we got to start doing, and quiz shows might be making a comeback here. If thanks people who supported the show. I have a couple tips over on Rockfin. One from Matthew Priest. Thanks for the super chat. Thanks Nathan Nichols for the super chat, who says, "Don't forget, don't forgive COVID-19." Yes, I know. We're going to get the truth out about things one of these days. So, and then check out our sponsor, Truth. So you can donate there. You can donate through the Cash App to $LCV411. And you can go to our t-shirt store at truthclothing.io. I'm wearing a Doshi shirt today. We still have a few of those left. We have some crypto shirts too. If you wanted to buy a Bitcoin shirt, it would really help me out. Check those out. We have nice Bitcoin, Litecoin shirts. One of these days, crypto is really going to make a comeback, I'm telling you. And then also JJ sponsors the show. Make sure to go to jjcbdrub.com for anything about CBD or Kratom for that matter. And then we're looking into maybe Delta 8 or something else. So, but great to have Alex Stein on the show. Could have done... we'll get him on again for extra entertainment. Good to have him on. All right, so that's it. We're going to wrap up the show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. If you need help with crypto, go to bitcoinmissionary.com. That's to sign up there. And then that's it. That's what we have going on. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And we'll see you at the next one. For now, that is what it is.